Hi, I'm Cathay Reta, and I'm an author and speaker and someone who really loves to encourage and inspire women to go after their goals and follow their hearts. And I just had a wonderful conversation with Kim Sorrelle that kind of ties into that. So I hope you check it out.
Welcome to the show. I am so glad you're here. You are going to be so happy that you're here. I'm Kim Sorrelle. I speak, I write, I get to do so many fun things in life, but my favorite thing to do by far is to meet new people. And I get to meet some of the greatest people in the world. And today I have an old friend who is with me, who I've not seen in a while. So I'm so excited that she's here. Cathay, she is a writer. She's done so many things in life. She's going to talk a lot about it. She's done the Camino Trail. That's in my dream. So we're going to talk about that. But she's an author. She's amazing. And so, Cathay, let's get into this. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Kim. I'm so happy to be here. I really am, and really good to see you again. And
Yeah.
yeah, looking forward to chatting with you about the Camino and among other things.
Yeah. So great. So great. Okay. So I want people to get to know you. So I would love for you to start by telling us about 8-year-old Cathay.
8-year-old Cafe. You're
Yep.
having me reach way back. Oh, that's pretty easy. Very shy girl who didn't speak much, had a hard time expressing herself and was just quiet and went along with whatever's going on, but certainly not a leader in any way. And yeah, pretty inhibited.
Yeah. So what were your passions then? Were you a reader? Did you love to go outside and play? What did you?
You know, even from that age, one passion was to be a writer. I wanted to write books. And even by the time I was in seventh or eighth grade, I would write stories. I would print them very carefully as if it were typewritten, and come
Yeah.
up with stories like spy stories. Since back in that time, I liked The Man from Uncle was a
Oh yeah.
popular TV show. So that inkling to be a writer had always been in my blood and a desire, but I didn't have the confidence to follow it. So there was that, and then music was my other passion. So I played flute, and actually I went on to that was my major in college. I got a BA degree in music, uh, mainly playing flute, but also then I learned piano and guitar. And
Oh,
it's kind of strange because I didn't have a lot of direction. So I'm in college. My parents are putting out this good money for me to get a BA degree in music, but I was never good enough that I would be able to use that in performance. But it was just something I was interested in. So I guess that was quite a luxury to be able to do that because when I got out of college, I didn't use it. Anything directly. I began working with a international ministry group and would lead music and such. Um, but yeah, in fact, I would have liked to have played with the symphony, but my last year in college, I took lessons with the first chair flautist from the Phoenix Symphony.
mhm.
And she told me, she said, there's eighth graders that can play circles around you. She
Oh,
was she was so right because I never wanted it bad enough to put the time in to practice. And
mhm.
even then I understood serious musicians like that, they'll spend hours each day practicing. And I struggled during that period of time when I studied with her to put in 1 hour a day. And I just didn't quite get there. And she said another thing that really stuck with me. One day I was playing this run and she could pick out a wrong note here and there so easily. But one day she stopped and she says, I don't get it. I have this sense that if I held a gun to your head and said play, you could play really well. But short of that, I can't get it out of you. And I think that's so telling. That's pretty much been my life up until these recent years. Like I've known it's there, the potential's there, but I don't quite take the steps or have the courage to step out into it. Yeah, so that was quiet,
Yeah.
non-performing cafe for so many years.
That's so interesting because, people say things and they stick with you, obviously, right? Like
Mhm.
that you don't forget those things. I mean, that was a couple of 10, at least 10 years ago. It was a couple of years ago that you heard those things. And I'm hearing it and I want to hug you. Like I'm thinking, God, it was so mean. Like, I mean, obviously very straightforward person
Mhm.
and just said it like she saw it. And did you at the time feel like, gosh, that's so mean? Or,
No, I think I knew it was true. And, and it was harsh, but I understand from where it's coming from, and it was right on. And I know that was my personality or the way I was living at the time. Well, one that seemed even more mean. So I was studying music. So I'm in a class, a voice class, and I was very embarrassed to sing. I could play the flute okay, but to sing in front of people was a little harder for me. And there's a class of 8 of us, and the teacher, we would take turns singing in front of each other, and then she would give us feedback and encouragement and all that. But she was like the flute teacher. She played the introduction. I started to sing, and she stopped. Kim, she says to me, I think you're the worst student I've ever had.
oh
And
my
she said,
word.
it's not your voice, it's just that you won't give it to me. If you won't put it out there, I can't do anything with it. I can't go in and make you give your voice. I can't get hold of it. And that makes you very hard to work with. And I was very embarrassed. And I wanted to shrink in front of everyone, but it was so true. And at the core, I knew that. I've always known there's something more, but I'm not giving it. And I won't put myself out there to get
Yeah.
embarrassed about it.
Wow, that's so interesting. Yeah, people are very direct with you.
I guess I pulled it out of him, but I appreciated even then. I knew that that was true and I appreciated it. And I knew it was coming from a spirit and a place of love and respect. It wasn't to put me down.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good that you had that going for you. It wasn't
Yeah,
just some stranger that you'd never met before saying these words to you.
yeah, that would
But
hurt.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I think I've probably told this story before on the show, but we used to do, my cousins and I, we would do a beauty pageant for my grandma, right? She would, the audience of one sitting there, and we would go through everything, the walk down the runway in one of her dresses, and whatever. And when it came to the talent portion, man, I couldn't wait for it. And my cousin Sherry sang Paper Roses, and she had a beautiful voice. And she got done, and my grandma said, "Oh, Sherry," and I'm probably 9 at the time or something. "Oh, Sherry, you've got such a beautiful voice." And then my cousin Mary was a couple years older. She sang and had a beautiful voice, and she sang Amazing Grace, and every wrench around heard her voice. I mean, it was beautiful. And my grandma said, "Oh, Mary, you have such a beautiful voice." And then I got up and I sang Trailers for Sale or Rent, right? King of the Road. And I sang
Yeah.
every verse and I knew every word. And I got done and I couldn't wait to hear her say those words. And she said, "Kim, maybe you can dance." Yeah, I went, "Oh, I guess I'm not a singer." But I mean, it's true. My kids used to beg me to not sing in the car. I didn't care. I would sing anyway. But yeah, I just didn't have that gifting. But it's tough to hear when you're hoping that's something you got going, right?
Yeah, because isn't
Yeah.
that what we all want? Even from the time we're young children, we want to be seen and we want to be appreciated.
Yes, and validated.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, so it's crushing to me that my grandma didn't think I had a good voice. But like
Gee.
you were saying, I'm sure she was right because my cousins did go on to sing in big places and I did not. I didn't even go on to dance in big places, except,
Oh.
maybe the occasional line dance at a place nearby. So, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so what did that do for you? I'm curious though, because here you're this music major. Is that why you decided not to go pursue anything in music? Or do you wish you would have pursued something? Because music is widespread, right? The kind of things you can do in music. Do you
Yes.
have any regrets in that area? Wish that you would have pursued something? Or uh, how do you feel about all that?
I don't know. I kind of got where I wasn't. I didn't regret not pursuing anything. I think I understood it was more like a hobby or just a something that was special to me and um, was kind of healing to me and something that I needed. And so I did use it with this ministry I worked with. I was using music there, and actually I wrote a lot of songs. I wrote a lot of Christian songs, and would sing them with the group. And the one regret is that I didn't get that shared more widely. And and now I don't really write anymore. I don't even do music much at all anymore. It's just my life's evolved and changed so much. But even then, there's a theme in my life. I'm just really relating this story with the earlier ones. So it was about maybe around 2015 or so, or 2012. Um, I had all these songs, and one day I just heard the Lord say to me, I didn't just give those for you.
Mm, goodness.
Oh, it's not just for me. And so I took a step and I called some friends I have that are great musicians, who are really good, and I've played with them some. And they agreed to go in to a studio with me, and we recorded the songs. And then I would give the CDs away for free. And but it felt good, but I realized that really hit me that what we receive, it's not just for us, it's to give to the world, and there's purpose for it. And so, and I, so one thing that's on my vision board on my list these days is I would love for some real singers, people with great voices and music to pick up some of those songs and share them. And I even went so far as to send something to the Isaacs. They're this wonderful group I just love. And of course, I haven't heard anything. So if they're
Yeah.
listening, but I would love to hear them record something. I don't see myself doing it, but if someone else out there would be interested in some of the songs, and that's something that's still in my heart that I keep thinking, I think I'm a songwriter. I think I could write some more songs. But again, I just have to, I guess, push myself and get out there to do it. So that's a hidden thing off to the side.
I
But I
love
did get
that.
bold enough to put it on my vision board last year. Songwriter. Yeah, I'm gonna step
Good
into
for
it and
you.
own it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And there are places you can submit songs, and there's so many groups out there, and people looking for original music that's not yet been done. And so I have a friend who's a songwriter, and she just is just great with words like you are. And she's been doing it for a long time. I'll put you in contact with her after the show. But yeah, I mean, why not? Why not get your songs out there? Of course. I
Mhm.
love that the Lord kind of rebuked you and said, "Hey, get those out of the drawer. It's time to do something with it." I think
Yeah,
that's
don't be
great.
so selfish.
Yeah, no kidding. Share already. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
like making a batch of cupcakes and just kind of keeping them all to yourself. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Can't wait to hear your songs on the radio. That'll be fun.
it will
So
be.
yeah, yeah, and that's a kind of a whole different writing, right? I mean, that's not like writing a book or writing an article or whatever. That's a kind of a
Yeah.
whole thing by itself.
It is pretty different, but most of what I received, it just kind of comes. It's come just like flowing in. Anytime if I've been stuck and struggling over words, I don't end up finishing it. So it's usually something that's come when I'm in a zone or in a certain place in my life, and I guess it's a message I need, and it comes in pretty easily. But I do believe it's also a craft that I need to go beyond that and sit down and develop. Really, if I'm serious about it, then to go ahead and develop it and work at it. Because that is writing,
Mhm.
it takes writing and rewriting and revising and working with it till you get to a place that you think it's good enough to let it go.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I love it that even though you got cut down a few times when you were in school with music, that music has actually been a part of your life and now could even take a bigger role in your life as you're going, yeah, let's get this
Mhm.
out there even more to the world. I think that's fabulous. So your parents didn't waste their money because I'm sure you learned a lot of things.
Yes, yes.
So they can be happy that they didn't waste their money, that you're using the music. I think that's awesome. That's so great. Yeah.
Now, I
So,
know it would bother my father, and I go home and, you have to do these extracurricular activities. And so one of my classes was golf. And my dad said, I'm paying how much for you to go out and play golf? And it's a required PE course.
yeah, I can't. No, Dan, I'm not taking algebra that hour. I am going to go and yeah, play golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting even how education has evolved a bit in universities have evolved a bit over the years and but yeah, the requirements and what you have to do and I don't know. I'd probably take pickleball now if I were there, I think. That would be fun. Yeah. So you've been on a journey. Like life hasn't just been um a cotton candy and rainbows for you. You've taken quite a journey. I'd love for you to talk about that.
Okay. I will. I'll share. I usually talk about it in terms of the Camino, but
Yeah,
and walking
yeah,
the Camino, but
yeah.
share with you what led up to that
Mhm.
beforehand. One thing is, of course, my husband died. We'd been married 33 years, and he passed away, and I was at a point of okay, deciding what's next and about going on that journey. But the other thing that I haven't previously spoken about so much is that the next year after he died, this ministry group I had been a minister with and a part of for 45 years kind of imploded. It fell apart, and I was having this awakening, and I came to realize it was more like a cult. It was a high control church group. And oh man, my life, I look back and there's where I have so many regrets. And not just that I was in it, but I was teaching others to be in this control and where there's all these rules and regulations and how, instead of just what I understand now is how freely God loves us and there's no conditions on it. And we're all acceptable and we're good. And so that's the other thing. I had come out of that. So after 45 years, I left that and knew I couldn't be a part of that anymore. And then my husband had died. And so at that time, I went ahead and retired from work. I'd been working in adult literacy, running literacy programs for about 40 years. And so there I was. Okay,
Wow.
now what?
Yeah, no kidding. Now what? Going back to the whole ministry thing, it's amazing how people can get caught up in things, right? Like
Yes.
if there's somebody that you listen to and you admire them, uh, you tend to believe what they have to say.
Hmm.
You tend to hang on to it, right? And things can happen just so slowly and little by little, where it may start out super good, but then little by little, you don't even notice the changes. Was it like that, or was it like from the beginning? You look back and you go, "Why did I ever buy into it to begin with?"
No, it's just like you said, from the beginning. And I think the group changed a lot through the years. I think the leader, the founder, now I realize you would call him a narcissist, but I think he become worse through the years. But also, I think there was a lot of goodness when it started out, and then it just started shifting. But it's like you say, and there were things that I didn't agree with, but oh well. What does it hurt to go along with it? And especially then when all of your circle, your friends are in it, the people you connect with, and little by little you become more connected there and have more distance with people that are not a part of it because, they don't understand and
Mhm.
it really isolates you. And that is a book I hope to write at some time is, how does that happen? Because I think people look at it and you think, oh, cult, that someone got deceived and you got swept into it. And I think we're all very vulnerable into getting into those situations. It's just by not speaking up when you don't agree with something, going along with it and pretending you do, or convincing yourself that it's true, it's okay because everyone else believes it. But it's, when we don't have our own center and don't know who we are. And And then there's just so many pieces to it. So uh,
Yeah.
that's I
Yeah.
started writing bits and pieces and try to sort out, well, how can that happen? With the hope that it would be a book to help others understand. If you're in a situation and you're not feeling good about it, your gut's telling you, your spirit's telling you, this isn't good. But you go along with it because you learn to override it and become numb to what we know is truth.
Mm.
So a lot of little things like that pile up.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I would think that it would be really hard when it's your circle, it's your people, it's whatever, and and the time invested.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's got to play into it that it's like, oh my gosh, okay, so I don't agree with this, but I've already been here 30 years. Like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And
Mm-hmm.
so I would think all of that would play together and into it all. And it's interesting that you said that the leader was a narcissist. That's pretty typical, right? That's kind of a common thread,
It is.
unfortunately, in situations like that. And I think one of the big red flags to me, like when I've known people that maybe have gotten into something that you go, some of it sounds really good, but other parts of it, it's like, holy cow, is the isolation. Like I have a good friend who didn't see her parents for years and years and years because they were involved in something. And they burned all the family pictures. They because no images of you, what, like there were so many things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
and they couldn't be associated really with anybody that didn't believe exactly the way they did. And they finally came out of it, but it was years and years and years of not seeing them. And so the isolation thing is,
That's a big thing.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Huge red flag. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because it's control, control, control. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, huge red flag. And so then getting on the other side of that, so it imploded. So the whole system imploded. Like it was like everybody, the whole thing dismantled, or you
No, it's
walked
still
away.
ongoing. I think is really crippled. Not very many people, but probably about at least half that were involved. And these are church groups around the world in some different countries. But I think there had been a lot of dissatisfaction and a lot of questioning going on. And the founder had passed away like the year before.
Mm.
But it was continuing, and people, including myself, kept thinking this isn't right. And here it was when my husband, the last 4 years of his life, he had had strokes and heart attacks, and I was a caregiver, and our life was really stressed. And it was during those times I started really, well, slowing down and listening and realizing this isn't right and noticing my attitudes and how bad they were. For instance, so we had moved to this new community, and someone I met there knew the situation, and she asked if she would share with this other church group, to pray for us. Okay, that'd be great. And one of them emailed me, said they, are praying for us. They would be willing to come over and pray, in person. I said, "Oh no, thank you. I just appreciate your prayer." And at the same time, our hearts, David and I were feeling very much a need for connection and people. That's what we wanted. And here it's presented, and I said, no. And I sat back and I thought to myself, why? It's because my attitude was, no, no, no. We're the ones that go and pray for you. No
Mm.
one comes to pray for us. We're the ones. We're the ones that go and help. We're the ones in the know and the power or whatever. And I recognized that in myself and within this whole group. And I said, well, that's not right. It's just not right. Um, and so little things like that were happening. So it's already unraveling in me in those last years. And then the final thing where it just really broke and a lot of people left, we learned that the founder had been molesting some young women.
Oh,
And
hi.
that's when I was looking at, the check marks for a box. What is a cult? Bum, bum, bum. And that was the
Mm.
last box to check definitely is. So it made it that much easier to leave because, okay, yeah, clearly it's not just in my mind. It's not and I was hoping we could overcome those other attitudes. We could get people to understand that no, we're not the only ones with the word. We're the ones that had the answers and no one else does. And all of that falseness. Yeah. And it felt so good to come out of that.
Yeah.
On one hand, it seems like, and I do have some friends that came out that are kind of struggling and just really kind of lost. But for me, I just felt so free and became closer to God than ever. Um,
Wow.
it was just
Wow.
an experience.
Yeah. Well, it takes some gumption to leave. Like, I can't imagine it's easy to just walk away
No,
from what you've known for 45 years.
yeah. The good thing there were a number of us that did, and so we were connecting on email and encouraging one another. So it wasn't alone. I think that would have made it very, very hard.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. But yeah, that I think it is always just kind of dangerous when you think you know everything, right? When you're the ones that have a handle on all that's true. It's
Hmm.
like, man, even as an individual, I never want to have that attitude. I mean, I'm learning and growing all the time, hopefully. Hopefully I'm getting better at this life thing. And
Hmm.
so there's things that I used to believe that I no longer believe. And I think there's a beautiful grace in that people are all at different places with their faith or their non-faith, wherever they happen to be. But
Yeah.
but because it can be easy to look at other people too and go, oh geez, I can't believe they believe that, or I can't believe they whatever. Well, they're on their road, and that's where they are on their road. So just like you want to have grace to be on your own road, your own path, I feel
Hmm.
like we have to extend grace then to other people to be on their own path, because
Yeah.
certainly you're where you are going is not the only place that thinks that they have the handle on all things true. And
True.
so, but people can believe however they want, but it's you put yourself it's pretty isolating when you think you have all truth all wrapped up in all things God. And then where do you let other people in and
And
other ideas and yeah, conversations, right?
yeah, and that's such a burden because then, oh, it's on me. I've got to portray this certain person, perfection. I've
Mhm.
got to act like that so that I don't be a stumbling block to someone else or so that I can draw them and help them. That's such a burden. And what I know now is you can't love someone when you're looking at them that way. Oh, now that I don't feel responsible for their salvation, I can
Mhm.
love and accept and receive everyone. It's just very I don't know what the word is, very freeing, just very
Yeah, yeah,
wholesome.
yeah. I think that's a beautiful word for it. Freedom, to be freed that way. Yeah. Wow. So you had however many months in between these things, major, major things. I mean, losing your husband, so he was having heart attacks and strokes and he was not doing well. But did you
Mhm.
think he was going to go when he did? Like it had gotten to the point where, and your caretaker, which is its own story all by itself, that's such
Mhm.
probably the hardest job in the world. And so it was just a downward thing where you were like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
going to be
it
happening.
was just getting worse and worse and
Mhm.
constantly. And by the time near the end, he was lost muscle control. He couldn't walk anymore. And then um, probably in the last several months, he couldn't even turn over in bed. I'd have to get up at night and turn him over. Um, and then probably within the last month, he didn't have the strength in his arms to feed himself. So it was a long, gradual decline.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
yeah,
And yeah, eh,
it's
and
hard.
to accept it. I know the last few months before he passed, I was hearing, I think it was the Lord telling me, your husband's dying. I would be hearing that voice, your husband's dying. And I'm like, get behind me, Satan.
Yeah.
It's not true. And then could it be true? And then I realized it was. And I think how wonderful that was that God, preparing me and
Mhm.
letting me know to open my eyes as if I couldn't see just from the physical around me was whispering that to me, letting me know. So I
Wow.
did have that awareness to say, okay, let me spend all the time with him and give him the attention and, to not have any regrets later.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's really cool. I'm writing this book on grief, and just yesterday I was writing a part about how um, my husband, it was 6 months, 6 weeks from the time he was diagnosed to the time he passed away,
Mm,
much quicker than 4 years of, what you went through was so tough. And 6 weeks, but it's like, I don't know that there's a perfect anything. I think for the person leaving, it's nice if it's just kind of immediate, maybe.
sure.
You don't not having to think about it, whatever. Although when my husband found out he had pancreatic cancer, which it was throughout his body, which typically is by the time you find out, right? There's just kind of nothing they can do. It's not a good one. Pancreatic cancer is probably the worst uh, thing that you want to hear.
Mm,
And um, there was a certain peace that he got in knowing. It's like, we don't know. I mean, we could be here another 50 years, we could be here another 20 years, tomorrow. Who knows? But and he loved the Lord with his whole heart and soul and being. And uh, there was just a certain peace that came with
mm.
knowing that we thought it was going to be a year. 6 weeks was a little quick, but even so, there was this peace in knowing. Did you see that with your husband at all?
I don't think it's not, no, hmm.
Or did he know he was dying? Like, did
I think finally, he kept holding on, believing he would be restored up until the last probably few months.
mm,
And so who am I to tell him? I mean, in me, I would have liked to said, so it's okay, honey, let go. But I'm not going to say that, so I didn't. And then so I was kind of thankful and also sorrowful at the same time when one day he told me, let me go. So I'm tired, let me go.
mm,
And so I told him, okay, yeah, you can go. It's okay.
yeah,
Um, and it's probably, I don't know, maybe 3, 4 weeks after that that he passed.
mm. Wow. Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
was helpful to have that little exchange.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, especially, I don't know how your cult church believed at the time, but I've known people who have been in faith places and, involved in certain churches that don't say the word, don't mention an illness because name it, claim it, and
Yep.
they're not going to die. They're going to be healed. They're going to be healed. And so then when people do die, it's like it's such devastation because it's like, well, wait a minute, where's the healing? And I always think we're a little lost in that because yes, Jesus healed the blind and the lame, but to help them, not it wasn't, I don't know. Anyway, but yes, he did.
Yeah.
And I believe he does. And God can do whatever he wants to do. I mean, he's God, for goodness sake.
Hmm.
But the goal is the heaven. I mean, my husband was 51 and never pay another bill, no more flu,
Yeah.
no more sickness. I mean, that's not a bad gig. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, but sometimes we kind of discount that and think that the physical healing here on earth is the ultimate healing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this group I was with, what the founder taught was that we were never created to die, that we should live. We would live until the Lord returns. I mean, physically live. And so David was really trying to stay alive.
Mm,
And I could see it wasn't practical. And I'm not sure I totally agreed with that, but it's one of those things like, oh, well, he can teach that. I'll see, but we'll
right.
see. And so that made it very hard. And that's something, I mean, certainly in that situation, it makes death difficult because it's seen as failure. Like
Mm,
you didn't have faith, you didn't hold on, and you let Satan take you or something like that. Um,
mm,
and it's the beginning of awareness that we don't handle death well in this society. It's a natural part of life. And it's just that evolving and growing, to the next level. But and even after David died, again, I'm not in that group anymore, but I'm still very trying to do the right things. And, so I'm not being sad, I'm not grieving.
mm,
Maybe I did a little bit and then I went on. And by the time I went on the Camino, that's when I found out. I had not grieved, that I had just suppressed it all and thought I was strong, as if you could skip that step, and you can't. Even when one part of the Camino, there's the hill of forgiveness. And I know as I got to the top there, one, I knew I had to forgive David for dying and leaving me. And I did. And then I realized, well, then I just, called out like in anger because, it's like, David, I lied. I said you could go and I'd be okay. I'm not okay. And I don't know what to do. And so I kind of let it all go and I forgave him. And, so some of that began to lift. But it's on that Camino that I realized I'm carrying grief that I didn't, that I just suppressed. I didn't deal with it.
Wow. Wow. So okay, so David died. You left the church you were going to, and then you decide I'm going to take this many mile walk across northern Spain or from Portugal or from France. I mean, it's the longest trail ever. What made you decide that's what you were going to do to figure out life?
Well, when at the time when David was dying, two of our friends walked the Camino and they told us about it. I'd never heard of it. I thought that sounds interesting. It's 483 miles. There's several different routes you can use, but the probably the most popular is the French way. Starts in France at the foothills of the Pyrenees and then goes west across Spain to Santiago. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I wish I could do that, but of course I can't. But so that never left my mind. And so that was probably 2 years later. I'm still thinking about it. And when I was turning 64, I remember thinking, 65 is coming. I should do something big for my birthday. I thought, oh, I'll walk the Camino.
Oh,
And it's kind of halfway a joke to me because I had a sedentary life. I hadn't done walking. I wasn't into hiking for years, since I was a young woman. But that thought kept growing, and I kept finally, I had this knowing I have to do it. I don't know, I need to do it. And it occurred to me, well, of course it makes sense to go because, well, on the commute, what do you do? You get up each morning and you walk. You eat, you go back to bed at night, then you get up the next day and walk. You don't have distractions of life. And I thought this will be the perfect opportunity to sort out what am I going to do now? What's my next 30 years like? And I thought it'd be a good mental activity and physical activity.
mhm.
And so off I went. I went alone. And the first night, actually, my first night there, I'm sitting in a 13th century church up in the Pyrenees, and it's dark, the lights are dim, music softly playing, and I'm sitting on this wooden bench, and I start to tear up. And I kind of thought, okay, I'm starting a goodbye to David.
Mm,
More than that, I sat there, and then I heard in my spirit, I heard the word absolution.
mm,
I don't need absolution. That's not why I'm here. I know tradition in the Catholic Church, they would um, give absolution or the forgiveness of sins to people who walked the Camino and, fulfilled certain requirements. I thought that's nothing to do with me. I don't need absolution. And that voice came back, yes, you do. You need absolution from yourself to yourself.
wow. Wow.
So I went on, and from there, the next day when I was checking into a hostel, because it's a very structured, those 483 miles, there's lots of hostels along the way and places to stay. And so I was checking in, and I started telling the host that my husband had died. That's why I'm walking to Santiago. And I got as far as saying my husband, and I began sobbing.
Mm,
It took me by surprise. I wasn't feeling sad. I don't know where it came from, other than it was the grief. Yeah. And I
mm.
learned you can't skip the grief. And grief is a very healthy thing for us to process when we've suffered loss. And so that's pretty much what my Camino was about, processing that and finding absolution for myself.
Wow. 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 And we're not talking a week.
No, it was 35 days I was on the
35
trail.
days.
And I didn't walk all 483 miles. I got in 251.
Yeah.
And then I was running out of time, had to catch my flight back home. So I
Oh,
had to
yeah.
bus over parts of it. But in reality, the journey, it's about what was going on internally. So it wasn't about the miles or seeing all these places. It was having that room to really process this and actually to be broken apart. Um, I mean, physically, I was in pain. Let's say it was rough. But spiritually, I was, and emotionally, it just really, yeah, it just really beat me, beat me to tears and just doing a lot of crying. And for the longest time, I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I should go to a hotel. I can check into a luxury hotel, sit at the pool, and do my planning there. I don't need to do this walking. But yeah, I knew I needed to keep going. And so I don't know. I think the hardship kind of breaks something open within us. I don't think I could have gotten to that place without the hardship of, the walking, the pain, the blisters, the feeling lonely. Wasn't really connecting well with people. So a lot of loneliness. And then it got the worst part. About 3 weeks in, then I got bed bugs.
Oh no. Oh no.
And that's not a common experience on the Camino, but I got them. And it was one of the things I was afraid of and I was, concerned about. And I got them. And I was kind of, okay, that's the end of the rope. And I remember laying in my bunk bed and I'd just been crying. I had gone and washed all my clothes and tried to, treat it. And this other traveler from the UK, Patrick, he came in. How's your day going? I got bed bugs and I just want to go home. And I started bawling.
Oh.
He so kindly, and the stranger, he reached out his hand to me. He said, May I hold your hand? Mm-hmm. And he sat down cross-legged next to me where I was laying down and just started consoling me. So, bed bugs, that's part of life. You have the good and the bad. I don't know what he said, but I felt better. We took a walk around the town. And at one point, he stopped and he turned to me and he said, You're on the Camino to learn to fall in love with yourself. And I knew that was it. I knew that was it. Because, my life had just been hidden and I had negated or ignored my desires and my yearnings all of my life. And that just broke through. And so I started feeling better. After that, I ended up at another hostel where the host was really great. And he helped me get rid of it because I found out the bed bugs hadn't gone. He helped me get rid of them. We washed everything and was just so kind and caring. And I just began to relax and something shifted. I knew everything was okay.
Mm.
And so I made it. By the time I got to Santiago, I knew that, okay, that was the trip that um, I just needed to rediscover myself again. And as far as looking what to do with my life, like I said earlier, from the time I was a child, I wanted to be a writer, but I never had the courage. But after I came home from the Camino, I did. And so I wrote the book, Keep Walking, Your Heart Will Catch Up. And that kind of started me into a new direction and passion and continuing to find myself, really to find that person I had buried for so many years. But the other thing, here's, I think, key about grieving and learning to do that and making space for it. After I was back home, I was going through my pictures and I saw one where my head's thrown back in laughter. And I remember my thought was like, who is that woman? I don't know. I'd ever seen myself like that. And then I noticed there were a few more pictures that way. And I realized that something had unlatched where that joy just came out. And not long after that, I heard a podcast with Brene Brown, and she was talking about, the emotions like grief and everything. And what I learned from her is that you can't just pick which emotions you're going to suppress. If you're going to suppress grief, you're suppressing everything. So all of my emotions have been suppressed. And I can attest to that. I can feel that now. I feel more alive by going and having that experience and releasing those things. Then the joy came back, the joy came up, and all the good things. So um, it's just
Wow.
so incredibly important to process grief.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And it's interesting that you started this, you decided to do the Camino because you'd heard about it, whatever, but to figure things out and figured out probably way differently than you thought you were going to.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't imagine these things you can't plan out ahead of time. You can
Mhm.
never imagine it. But if you,
Yeah.
yeah, stay open and just go ahead. I just followed the unction. I know I needed to go, and then I got
Yeah.
what I needed.
I love that. I love that. And you're so right. You can't skip grief. It's not like you can go to bed at night and you wake up in the morning, you're done, or hey, the funeral's over, you're done. One thing that I think that we can be awfully good at, unfortunately, is judging people's grief.
Oh yeah.
And which you should never judge anybody's grief. Everybody's going to go through whatever path they're going to go through. And for some people, they do can put it off a little bit, put it off for a time, but at some point in time, it's going to come up, and you do have to deal with it. And I mean, it's your husband, for goodness sake. I mean, when you lose somebody that you're with every day for 33 years, and then all of a sudden they're gone, your whole life is upside down.
Mm-hmm.
The two shall become one. There's something to that. All of a sudden, it's like your arms cut off. You have to figure out how to even live this life again.
That's so true. That's so true. I remember I had this sense along that way too. I always kind of disdained traditions and such. It used to be a widow would have to wear black for a year and the veil and everything. I thought, oh, how ridiculous. I've always thought that was a horrible thing. And so, like for David's service, I'm in white or whatever, it just didn't make a difference. But I remember as I was feeling that grief, oh, I get it. I wish I could wear a veil and black for a year and people understand that I'm going through something, that I'm hurting, and they would give me space.
Uh,
Space to process it and not try to hurry it along or not try to fix it, but just it's going to take time. And so now I understand maybe the wisdom from that tradition. I don't think it'll ever come back, but I could see the wisdom in it.
yeah, yeah. I'm so glad that you said that because it's so true. Because you don't know what somebody's going through, right? And
Right.
so, it can be easy to whatever, somebody seems like they're in a foul mood and maybe they cut you off in traffic or run into you in the grocery store with their card or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
But I always think, well, you don't know what they're going through. And I remember those days after my mom died, after my husband died, after a big loss, where I was in some zone someplace else. Like I wasn't in my right mind. Like I was foggy. And so things would happen. And I remember standing in a grocery store after my mom died. I was in my 20s and my mom uh, died by suicide, and
Mm.
which is a horrible way to lose somebody, uh, for sure. And so anyway, I was just trying to deal with it. I didn't even know how, but I had kids and they wanted to eat, so I had to make sure I was taking care of my family. I had to go to the grocery store. And I remember standing in the grocery store and looking around me and thinking, wow, all these people are just going about their lives. They have no idea the pain I'm in. Nobody has any idea. And it was such an overwhelming feeling to me that I left sorry, Meyer, I left my grocery cart full right there and walked away. Like I couldn't deal. I couldn't do it. It was like a panic attack or something. Like I just couldn't do it. And yeah, man, we need to give each other grace. And had I been dressed in black with a veil, people would have been understanding. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because otherwise you don't know. I mean, you don't know who's just lost somebody who's going through whatever they're going. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's so
Yeah.
true. It's interesting. Yeah, it's
The
hard.
things we learn
We
along
learn, no kidding.
through the experience of it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. 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 And, I think you can read books and whatever. I don't know that things prepare you necessarily either. Because you might think, oh gosh, I wonder what it'd be like if my husband wasn't here anymore. Well, it's way different than him actually not being here anymore. Right. So there's only so much preparation you can do for
Mm-hmm.
for anything like that, even with your husband being as ill as he was for so long, or my husband being ill.
Mm-hmm.
you just, I don't know, you can't be totally prepared for it, I don't think.
Yeah, you can't know. Funny thing, so after I came back from the Camino, I realized, okay, I thought I wanted to be alone. I wasn't going to remarry. And then I realized, no, I don't want to be alone. And so anyway, I met someone. And we got married, and Ray is 10 years older than I am. And one thing I love is we can talk about death so easily. He knows I've lost my husband. He previously lost two wives to
Mm.
cancer, one after 27 years and then 15 years with the next one. Then she had cancer and died. And so, it's an accepting part of our life. And it's funny. And he would be telling me, okay, you need to plan what you're going to do when I'm gone. You need to make plans. And I started thinking, oh, yeah, I should. And I come to realize that. I mean, the likelihood that he'll pass before I do is
Mhm.
high because of our ages. But I realized, what am I going to plan? One, I don't want to be sitting here planning that now while I've got time with him. But also, who knows what the situation will be? Who knows what will be happening in the world or what I'll be feeling, what I'll be like. So I thought, no, I'm just going to trust when time comes, then I'll know. Whether it's another nudge to go walk the Camino again or to do who knows what.
Yeah, or sit by a pool at a hotel, right? Whatever it happens to be, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
that could be.
yeah, yeah.
Excuse me.
So, and then you wrote about it, which I think is so generous because I would think it'd be so easy to go, man, that was my experience. I'm keeping it to myself. But instead you shared it with the world, which I think is wonderful. So talk about the process and talk about your book a bit.
Yeah, so I felt it was, well, and I've always felt like the experiences that I have, I'm not the only one. Well, I mean, we're all unique, true, but we all have common experiences. And I just thought it would be helpful for others. And also, it's helpful for me. Writing is just real natural to me. It's a healing thing. And so I like to write and I do that. But I felt, I know there's others who need to um, experience this. And I find writing, like my journey in that way, I think it's easier for some people to access the experience and the lessons rather than me coming and say, well, you should do this and you should do that. And, and be so direct. That closes people down. But I've had women write and say, one, she had lost her husband but after reading my book, she's decided she's going to do what she wants to do instead of what everyone's telling her she should do.
That's
I thought,
great message.
okay, that was good enough reason to write the book. I've heard a few stories like that where it just gave them permission to be themselves and to find themselves first and to follow that. You really don't have to wait till a big crisis to do that. But unfortunately, we often do. We just kind of are lulled along until we have to stop and think about our lives. So yeah, so that's kind of the reason I wrote it and hoped it would be helpful to people.
And it has been, and it is. And so it is just such a wonderful thing that you did it and you got it out there and it is helping people. Because it,
Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, it's a whole new life. And nobody tells you that. I mean, there's so much about grief, I think that I had no idea that people don't necessarily talk about, or even just the transition into this whole new world, this whole new life when
Mhm.
you think your life is going one way. And this is, you're going to be these 90-year-olds on rockers in the front porch sipping lemonade, or whatever. And then all of a sudden, nope, different plan, different whatever. But how
Mhm.
beautiful is it that we can be remade? Like it can be a new chapter and not dismissing the old, not paying honor to the old, but because of the old, you get to have the new. And yeah,
Yeah.
so
Very fortunate, very blessed. And it's not comparing the two. There's nothing to compare. It's just different. And I have to say, life is really good. I'm really enjoying life and a lot of it because I'm learning and becoming more true to myself,
mm,
finding that.
I love that.
One of the things so I would speak and, share about the book and that message. And the message is basically, you have to listen to your soul, to your heart, your spirit is calling to you. Listen and be mindful of it, and then take action. And I said, okay. And so it's one thing to do that, but what I've learned, to tell people that, but I've begun doing workshops on vision board to help people create vision boards. So I learned, okay, that takes it further into an activity. It's not just saying you should do this, but it's giving them time to sit. I do like a 4 hour session. And the first part is finding out, what do you want? What are your dreams? And I'm finding so many people don't know. Like, I don't know what I want. I don't know what my purpose is. I'm not passionate about anything. And so that's the first thing. Get some time to think about that and work with it and to start get in touch with yourself. And then to before going and putting pictures on a board, it's not just making a collage, it's being intentional with the pictures and envisioning yourself in that life or doing those things. Um, so I thought, okay, this is a more direct way to help people, specifically women, come to rediscover who they are and take some steps toward it into fulfilling that role.
Yeah, which is, I mean, you're so right. Like, I think as women, we tend to focus on the people around us, right? We're raising a family, we've got a partner, a spouse, we've got all the stuff. We tend to look at all the stuff outside of us before we look inside of us. And
Hmm.
so maybe when you're 8, maybe when you're 14, maybe you can make a list of what you want. But the longer you're just so outwardly focused, it can be harder and harder and harder to even think about what is it that you do want. Like I can see where that would be quite a process to
Hmm.
and to feel like it's okay. It is okay to want what you want. And it's so
That's it.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You have permission to want what you want and figure out what that is and then go for it. So I love that you're doing that. That's awesome. So if people want to connect with you, they want to get your book, they want to connect with you about the vision boards, they want to work with you, where do you direct people?
So I do have a website, and that's my name. So cathayreta.com. So and I think it's on the screen, the CATHAYRETA. And so that's the best one. You can email me there. And yeah, I am on Facebook. I don't do a lot of social media. That's the other thing I want to develop so I can connect with people. But probably the best thing is just through my website these days. And I had some other, so that book I wrote, I've got a couple others I've written since then. And so, yeah, I hope if people are interested, they can check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and everybody listen, Cathay is a brilliant writer. The way I love the way you write. I love your style. I love the way you write. You're so relatable. It's such it's easy to be on that path with you. It's easy to any of your books just feel like you're there with you, experiencing what you're writing about, which is a rare gift and it's so good. So I would say to everybody, go to Cathay's website and look up her books and then buy them and send copies to people, send a book to a friend. And what a beautiful gift, what a beautiful thing you can do to really bless somebody today is send them a book. If you know somebody who's gone through what Cathay's got through, this is a perfect book, the book to buy for someone who's going through something that they need to figure out what does the other side look like or how do I even get on the other side. This is the book to buy. And so all of this will be, of course, in the show notes. But I highly encourage you, and I know that you will love it. I'll give you your money back if you don't like the books because I'm that confident they're that good. So, Cathay, this has been such a treat. I loved talking to you and having you here. I've loved knowing you all these years, even though we haven't seen each other that much lately.
I know. I
But
so enjoy it.
yeah, 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 you're wonderful. So thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you, Kim. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate everybody out there who's joined us today. And if you know somebody that should listen to this, that'd be good for them to listen to, please pass it on, share it with whoever you want to share it with. And I just want to say that I pray that until we see each other again, that you keep your heart open and you live your love loud.